Meet John and Michael, both very different men in very different times. They have their differences, but deep down, they are very similar. Both are family men, both are trying to be a better father, both coming from a troubled past of former robbery, and both trying to live normal lives now. One of the biggest differences is their day-to-day life. From being a rancher in the countryside to being a rich man in a big city, they are extremely opposite. Michael woke up like any other day, being able to sleep in like usual. He walked to his massive wardrobe and put on his clothes for the day. He could pretty much afford any clothes he wanted. John woke up bright and early and said good morning to Abigail before starting a hard day of work. First things first, he went to go prepare some breakfast. He needed to fuel up for his long day of ranch work. Michael started his day off checking on his son. Of course he ignored him playing his video games. Then he went into his daughter's room. She was gone though, who knows where she was. After that, he went downstairs, said hi to his wife, then decided to go chill on his couch. He had nowhere to be for a while, so he decided to have a smoke. Then of course after, he had to watch some TV. After John ate his breakfast, he did his daily shave, and then was off to work. John now owned and ran his very own ranch. He had a lot on his daily schedule, so he decided to get to work right away. First thing up was heading into the barn. First on his checklist was cleaning up the stalls. He always hated this part since it was kinda gross, but it was necessary, so he always had to do it. Soon he was gonna make Jack do it. After TV, Michael decided it was time for some breakfast. His wife was making him be more healthy lately, so he always had to start his mornings with these gross green drinks. And yet another requirement of hers was he had to do daily morning yoga. To be completely honest though, he enjoyed this a little bit more than he let on. After scraping up all of the stalls, John was finally done with his first chore of the day. He put his pitchfork back and was ready for the next one. For his next chore, he milked the cow, then he left the barn and decided to check on his horses. He had just recently picked these ones up and tamed them, so of course he needed to make sure they were well taken care of. After that, he took a break to go check in with his family. He found Jack reading his book, of course, and he had a brief conversation with them. Michael started his yoga routine. He was kind of glad he listened to his wife on this one. Every day he got more and more into it, and he got more and more flexible. He started to get to the point where he could commit to crazy positions. After that one, he called it good for his daily yoga. John immediately started his next chore. He had to transport these hay bales to various locations around the ranch. This one was for feeding in the barn. He placed it down in its spot and was ready for the next task. He was shocked to find Uncle actually doing some work. He had to ask him about this, make sure he wasn't dreaming. After Michael's relaxed morning, it was time for him to go to work. He still couldn't believe what his son had done to the car. He thought the wheels were terrible. His commute to work was pretty nice, and he had a great flexible schedule. Traffic was not terrible for him today, as he was able to miss the morning rush. John's next job was to pump water out of the well. This was for sure one of the easier tasks he had to do. This water was going to be for the animals, but first his dog said hi, of course. He carried the water over to where he needed to bring it and poured it in the trough for the animals to drink out of it. Michael was now a film producer. This was his absolute dream job. Every day he pulled up to work, he still couldn't believe it. He was starting work on his very next movie today. He was finally a lead producer. Of course he had to stop and get a donut before work. After that, it was time for him to head in the office and finally start his workday. John started his next chore, which was bringing food to the chickens. He hoped Jack would be able to help him with some of these chores soon. He finally made it to the chicken coop and he picked up a bucket of food. He honestly loved having chickens, just for companions and of course the eggs. He made sure the chickens had a good amount of food and was now done with this chore. He noticed one of the chickens on the loose though. After getting everything back in order, he collected their eggs, and now he had to bring them all to the wagon. Once he had enough built up, he would take these into town and various places to go sell them. After that chore, it was time for one of his favorites, chopping the firewood. This was honestly so fun to him and a great way to relieve stress. He got pretty good at it too and could almost always get him on the first try. He chopped wood after wood after wood, and then finally finished it all. He looked at his hard work and was now done with this chore. Michael finally finished work. It was a solid productive day of working on the movie. It was currently in the storyboard process. Michael had some plans for after work. He was not going to go home straight away. Sometimes he needed to be away from the family. He came up on a crazy traffic jam though. There seemed to be some sort of roadblock and this car was just not moving. He was super confused and just decided to wait it out. Eventually his light turned green though, and there was a ton of cars in the middle of the intersection. He did not feel like waiting anymore, so he decided to make his way around them carefully. Michael continued his drive to the location and everything was smooth from here. John decided it was time for a break and headed inside. He then grabbed a bottle of brandy, then had some lunch. To avoid burnout, he always let himself take a break. He decided to have a cigarette, cause why not, it was his break time. After that, he found Uncle still in his pajamas going to chill by the fire. He decided he'd sit with him for a little bit. They chatted for a couple minutes, then John had to get back to doing stuff. Michael had just recently become a member of the country club and was getting pretty into golf. Before he went home, he was gonna play some. This was the best course and country club in Los Santos. He couldn't wait to play again. Of course, he changed into proper clothing and got in his golf cart, and he was off to his first tee. John was heading into town to Blackwater on his horse as he left his ranch. Thankfully, Blackwater was super close and was the nearest town. After only a couple minutes of riding, he had now made it to the town. Blackwater was a fairly nice and upcoming city, and John had a couple of things he needed to do here today. Michael made it to the first tee on the course and was ready to hit this first ball. This first hole was a straight line away from him, and he was ready to make his first swing. He wound back and hit the ball. It wasn't his best hit, but it was his first one. He picked up where the ball landed and made his next swing and hit. This one was a lot better, had a lot more strength to it, making it closer to the hole. Now time for his third hit. He swung back and chipped this one as he was a lot closer to the hole. On this next one, he accidentally hit it into the sand trap, but on the next one, he ended up getting it super close to the hole. Finally, he could just put it in, and that was a bogey. Not terrible for his first hole. Abigail sent John to Blackwater to get groceries and dinner for tonight. He headed to the general store. He got some fresh produce, including some fruits, and then also purchased some items from the catalog. After getting beef and rolls, he got a couple other items and called it good. After getting all he needed, he left the store. He saw a newspaper boy across the street, so he decided to go check one out and buy one. He liked to keep up with current events, and it had been a while since he had purchased the newspaper. He read up on everything new and made sure to get his money's worth, reading every single article. After that, John got back on his horse and headed back home. Michael continued to play his round of golf and continued to make questionable hits, specifically into trees. He finally got a perfect hit on this next one, and this putt was so close it just bounced right out. He was so mad. He finally finished it off there for another bogey, as that was the story for the rest of the holes. He was now done. It was now time for Michael to finally head home as he started his drive back. John arrived back home to the ranch. After a successful errand run, he put all of the food he got into the kitchen, but he still had a couple of things to do before he ended his workday. He milked the cow one last time, and now that he had enough milk, he could load it into the wagon. He picked up the first milk jug and made his way over to place it into the wagon. He grabbed the second one and put it right next to the other one. Michael eventually made it back home to his house, and for once actually parked his car into his garage. He saw his wife drinking that nasty green drink, which inspired him to have some whiskey. He poured up a glass for himself and downed it in one gulp. Of course he had to have another. One was not enough. Surprisingly though, he called it good at just 2 because he promised his wife he'd meet her down at the tennis court. John was now done with ranch work for the day, so he decided to chill out and wait for dinner. Abigail thankfully made some dinner and it was time to eat. He was very hungry after a long day's work. He was happy to have the full family at the dinner table, even Uncle. Abigail was super good at cooking, so he ate it all up, then just chatted with his family at the table. Michael was ready to play some tennis. He and his wife had been getting more into it. Michael made the first serve of the game, and he started off with a good hit right back. He ended up scoring the first point as well. These games got super competitive between the two. It wasn't all good though, as his wife scored the next one. She made sure to rub it into him. Eventually, Amanda found herself almost winning the game, which she ended up doing. Michael was pretty mad, but he wasn't going to go for that one. After dinner, John headed outside of the house to his brand new gazebo that he had built. He still hadn't built any furniture yet though, so it was just crates. He decided to chill here for a bit though. After that, he went to go talk to Abigail, and for some reason, she was pretty angry at him. He wasn't quite sure what he did. He decided to defuse the situation by leaving, and he headed to the fire. Michael and Amanda ended up playing a couple more games where they never ended up going very well for him. He decided to quit. He was finally in his comfortable clothes as well. He saw a very nice sunset, which made him actually admire the city for once, finally utilizing his balcony. His last plan for the night was hopping into the pool, almost hitting his head there. After a nice relaxing swim, Michael decided to hop into the hot tub. He finally realized this was the life. He didn't need crime anymore. This was perfect the way it was. It was now getting pretty dark for John sitting by the fire. He also noticed a storm brewing in the distance. He decided it was time to head in. He had a brief chat with Uncle, then headed into the house. Here he found Abigail and Jack chilling together in the living room. He sat down to listen to Jack read his book. He realized it was nice to see him so passionate about something, even if he didn't always approve. After the hot tub, Michael walked back inside, where he hopped onto the couch, had one last smoke before bed, and then turned on the TV to relax. After that, he decided to head up. Before heading to bed, he wanted to see if his kids were still home. He checked his son's room to see him gone, surprisingly not playing video games. He noticed the bong on his floor. He said, "Screw it, he's not here. I might as well take a hit of this thing." He didn't want him using it anyways. This was his way of confiscating it. He immediately felt the effects kick in. He wondered if this stuff was laced or something. He took that as his cue to head to bed, and so did John. Both of them headed to bed, having very different days. John faced a harsh, full workday of physical labor tasks, where Michael enjoyed an easy morning on a flexible office work schedule. This isn't to say that Michael had it easy. He worked very hard to be in his position now, and so did John. To them now, these were the lives they vowed to live. While both men lived very different lives, they had a strangely close connection. To them now, it was about fitting in. No more crazy lives. It was all about blending in.